Hi, it's Marilyn Price here with the Mentor Project. I welcome you and thank you for coming today and actually the next program too, but I've not done a part one and part two, so that's a blessed moment for me because there's so many stories to tell, written and illustrated by one of my all-time favorites, and I am clearly not the only one. Eric Carle, who we lost to this world last week only, wrote over 70 books, illustrated as well, and they are all time favorites. So we want them to be yours as well. So, what we're going to do today, and I'm hoping you got the email, the message, and you might not have, so you're getting it right now. That was a joke. I want you to take a piece of paper, any old piece of paper will do, a pad, and I want you to gather together some scraps. What is a scrap? A scrap is something that no one is using. It can be tissue paper, it could be an old cartoon, it could be anything colorful and lovely. And then, not so very long ago in the history of great inventions, was a mistake called the Post-it. And the Post-it became a Post-it when somebody was making a pad of paper, kind of pad of paper, maybe like this would be a pad of paper, and put a little bit too much glue on the top. And then when they pulled it apart, now I'm going to watch me pull it apart, it's got stickum on the top, and they are great for posting notes, so they call them Post-its. And if you happen to have any around the house, so cool, because you can use them to make an Eric Carle like collage. So what I'd like you to think about, you don't have to think about it now because I've been doing the thinking, is getting some Post-its and just putting them in any order you would like. And then see, oh, this is a square bird. Very easy to land a square bird, just in case you can't see that square bird. And then, of course, you can take a marker and mark over it and draw feet and draw colors and so many things you can do with Post-its as long as you have permission to use them. I think I say that a lot. And now in the great world, the Post-it world, they've developed other shapes too. So this is a star shape. So I am going to, but I don't keep them as a star. I'm going to keep it as my starbird with a square bottom. So much to do. So many stories to tell. And I am so glad again that you are joining me here at the Mentor Project. So this is an idea. Yesterday when I was getting ready to visit with you, I put together, let me see where I hit it. Oh, there's my tree. So I'm going to just move it there. See, this is the bottom of a tree with an orange bird. So birds come in all colors, as do Post-its. So there's the sun, important. So the sun is shining right behind me. Very cool. So I am going to put down my beautiful pad of paper right here and talk to you about a little bit about the stories. You notice I use the word stories we're going to tell today. The major story we're telling is called Walter the Baker. Walter the Baker. Now, remember I just talked about collages? If you look carefully at any of Eric Carle's beautiful books, you will see that his art is collage. Collage is a conglomeration of so many wonderful things made together in color. So Eric, in our hero in the story, Walter the Baker, who actually was a baker, his uncle, and the story was told to him by his grandma, which I take great pride in telling to you as a grandma. Maybe not yours, but I'd be proud to be that. So Walter the Baker is the principal story we're going to tell today. And I have made for you a character of Walter the Baker, but to show you what I mean by collage. Everything in this beautiful colored book is collage. And like many of his books, the subject is very tasty, as you can well tell, being a baker. So I'm also going to tell you another story, and it's a growing up story, one of my personal faves. So I'm also going to tell you and I'll show it to you too, as if you were sitting right there in front of me. I will read it to you and show you another sample of what I mean by collage. I have a lovely pile of Eric Carle's books. But just in case you happen to be in the Amherst, Massachusetts neighborhood, there is a wonderful museum called the Eric Carle Picture Book Museum. And I've had the wonderful privilege of being there and telling a story there well, it seemed like a long time ago. It may not have been. But if you happen to be there, they are now open to the public, and that is you. So when you get up and about, you might go there. And you might see the art not only from Eric Carle, but from many of his colleagues, other children's book illustrators. Beautiful, beautiful work like Tommy DiPiola. So the most famous, of course, and I'll just show you the cover because I've done this before on the Mentor Project pages, is called The Very Hungry Caterpillar, which would have been an incredible and remarkable opening for our show today, except I didn't pick that one. I picked another one, and I thought I would start with you with that. But I do want to introduce you to Walter the Baker before we start even this tiny little story. Okay. What do you think would make a great puppet for a baker? Do you think it would be a bag of flour? I thought of that, but very messy. Do you think you could use spoons? Sure. A spatula? Great. All the things bakers use. But how about a breadboard? Some people might think it's a pizza paddle, and it could be, but I made it into a breadboard. Wow. So what did I do to make Walter? I took these Post-its and I just made a collage. You could do way better than me. So I did it thinking I wanted it to be so visual. Another cool thing about breadboards, they serve as great masks. And then when you're all done, they serve as great breadboards too. So this is Walter. You're going to see him in a minute if you are ready. Oh, that is our opening story. This book was published in 2020, so it's probably about as new as any of Eric Carle's works. And it's a very simple story told with simple materials with a very big message for those of us who sometimes feel that we are not. So here it goes. In the front of the book, they give you an opportunity to dedicate this as a gift. So I've dedicated it to you from me. And this is how it goes. You are ready. The world is waiting. You are ready. See the mamas? Said the mama elephant to her baby. It's time for you to spread your wings, said the penguin. Yes, penguins are birds. To his baby. The world can seem like a scary place. But you are ready. You have everything you need inside you, said the mama turtle to her baby. And isn't that the truth? You are stronger than you know, said the sloth to her baby. Be a light in the darkness, said the firefly to her baby. Reach high when you feel low. Make friends wherever you go, said the rhino to the tiny little bird perched on its horn. When you feel lost, be true to yourself, and you'll always find your way home. So ready, set, into the world you go. You are ready. And now I invite you to meet Walter the Baker. Walter the Baker, published in 1972, was dedicated to Eric Carle's parents. Walter the baker was, in fact, his uncle, and the story was told to him, as I said before, by his grandma, pretty much as he heard it from her. As a grandma, I tell you this story, and when you create a story of your very own, someday maybe you'll tell it to your grandchildren, or perhaps to your grandma, or even as you create your collage and illustrate and color a book all by yourselves. But this week we dedicate this time, and next week as well, to Eric Carle, who died last week after a good and beautiful life filled with color and his stories and art. May he rest in peace, and may his stories live on. Walter the baker was known even outside the walls of his town. He was the best baker in the whole duchy, which is the town that is ruled by the Duke and Duchess. Early every morning, while everyone was still asleep, Walter began baking his breads, rolls, cookies, tarts, and pies. The Duke and Duchess who ruled the duchy loved Walter's sweet rolls, and every morning Walter Jr., Walter's son, carried a basket full of warm, sweet rolls to the castle where they lived. Said the Duchess, spreading quince jelly on her roll. Ah, said the Duke, putting honey on his. And so every day was the same as the day before, until one early morning, when Walter's cat was chasing a mouse and tipped over the can of milk. "What will I do?" cried Walter. "I cannot make sweet rolls without fresh milk." In desperation, Walter grabbed a pitcher of water. "I hope nobody will notice the difference," he said as he poured the water into the flour to make the dough. Now, you and I may not be able to tell the difference between a roll made with water and one made with milk, but the Duke and especially the Duchess could tell the difference. "Ugh!" cried the Duchess after she took a bite. "What is this?" roared the Duke. "Where is Walter the baker? Bring him here at once." So Walter was brought before the Duke. "What do you call this?" roared the Duke. "This is not a roll. This is a stone." And with that he threw it at Walter's feet. Walter said, "I used water instead of milk," hanging his head in shame. "Pack your things and leave this town and my duchy forever," shouted the Duke. "I never want to see you again." My Duke, this is my home. Where will I go? Give me one more chance, please." "I must banish you," said the Duke. And then he remembered Walter's good rolls and how much he and the Duchess loved them. "Well, Walter," the Duke started to say. Then he thought, and he thought some more. "You may stay if you can invent a roll through which the rising sun can shine 3 times. And to make it more difficult, it must be made from one piece of dough. And most of all, it must taste good. Now go home and bring me such a roll tomorrow morning." Poor Walter. Worried and sad, he trudged back to the bakery. He worked all day and into the night. He made long rolls. He made short rolls. He made round rolls and twisted rolls. He made thin rolls. He made fat rolls. And he worked some more. He beat, he pulled, he pushed, he pounded the dough. But it was all in vain. He could not come up with a roll that would please the Duke. By early morning, Walter had only one long piece of dough left. "It's hopeless," poor Walter cried. In a sudden fit of anger, he grabbed the last piece of dough and he flung it against the ceiling. "Stick there," he yelled at the dough. But it didn't. It fell, twisting itself as it dropped and plumped. into a pail of water. Anna and Walter Jr. were awakened by Walter's yell and rushed into the bakery just as Walter was about to dump out the twisted piece of dough. "Father, stop!" shouted Walter Jr. "Look!" And Anna quickly popped the dough into the oven. Soon it was brown and crisp. She took out the roll and handed it to Walter. It hadn't risen very high, but it had 3 holes. Walter held up the twisted roll and smiled. He saw that the morning sun was shining through it 3 times. Walter put the roll into a basket and rushed to the castle to deliver his invention to the Duke and Duchess. And they, too, saw the morning sun shine through it 3 times. And then the Duke and the Duchess each took a small bite. Walter was afraid to look because he had no idea how it would taste. "Well done," said the Duke. "Perfect," exclaimed the Duchess. Both were glad that Walter would not have to be sent away, and Walter, too, was happy that he could stay. "Now, pray tell us, Walter, what do you call this?" "Why, yes, pray tell us," said the Duchess. Why, yes, pray tell us," repeated Walter. "What was that? Pretzel?" said the Duke. "Pretzel it shall be. From now on," the Duke declared, "it shall be sweet rolls in the morning and pretzels in the afternoon," said the Duchess. Walter returned to his bakery, and he spent all day and night making pretzels for the whole town to taste, and a special brass basket for the Duke and the Duchess. And a cheer went up, "Yay! Hurrah!" for Walter the pretzel maker. And just for you, Walter and I would like to add this bit of pretzel wisdom. The word pretzel comes from the Latin word brachium, meaning arm. The pretzel was originally a simple bread eaten during Lent. Its shape is based on the ancient position for a prayer in which arms were crossed across the chest and hands were placed on opposite shoulders like that. And for you, my friends, I would like to thank many, many people who helped put us on the air today. That would be my friends at the Mentor Project. Look them up and sign on. I pray you have a good week, with a special thanks to Aidan Weinberger and Tina Parker and Jibby Jacobs and, of course, Debbie Heiser and our good friends who helped to make these broadcasts possible, the Kaufman Family Foundation and Tri-Braining Inc. This is Marilyn Price, looking forward to you looking forward. Sign up for our podcast and check us out on the Mentor Project. Here is to a good week, a week of many blessings. And thanks for coming.